Okay, this is my second take of my Dark Knight Rises review. I just recorded for 10 or 15 minutes on my first attempt of doing the review, but I was tripping over my words all the time. I was kind of slurring a bit, I guess, with my speech, and I was kind of tripping over my words. Yeah, so this is my second take of the review. So we went to the 5 AM showing of the movie, which was the first ever showing here in the UK. Originally, the earliest showing was 12:15, not at midnight, but halfway through the day at dinner time. So we were planning on going to see the first ever showing of this movie, which was going to be 12:15, but we reacted too late and it ended up going it was fully booked an hour after it got launched. I mean, it was crazy. This got booked almost instantly, fully booked. So we were kind of disappointed, but we were oh, we'll check it out the next day anyway, the day after release, whatever. It's no big deal. I mean, it would have been nice to see it on the first ever showing, but whatever. We'll still see it either way. But luckily enough, 1 or 2 weeks after that got fully booked, another showing popped up, which was earlier than the 12:15 showing, which was a 5 AM showing on the Friday. So we were oh yes, this is our chance. So when you book this on this website for this cinema, when you book your tickets, you actually choose, reserve which seat you want to take. So it shows you how many seats have already been taken. So this had already been almost fully booked. It's crazy, this was. So this 5 AM showing, a day after it was put up, I guess, made available to book seats for it. A day after, which was when I found out about it, it was almost fully booked again. So I was quickly telling my friend, and then we both booked our seats for it. And we ended up sitting 4 rows away from the front. They were the best seats available to us at the time, so we took the seats 4 rows from the front. I was concerned about this. We watched this in IMAX, by the way. This is the first ever time I've watched the film in IMAX, so that's kind of cool. But I was concerned because we were 4 rows away from the screen, so looking up at the screen, I was kind of concerned we would get an ache in our neck or something like that. But it was okay actually. I didn't get tired or my neck started aching. Nothing like that happened. I was fine when I was watching the movie. So that's a relief, So yeah, I go 1 hour's of sleep. I'm recording this on the same day I've seen it, by the way. I haven't long seen the movie, but I've only got 1 hour sleep last night. I did try to go to sleep, believe me. I was lying in bed for 4 hours just with my eyes closed and I just could not get to sleep. And I ended up getting an hour of sleep, and then I was woken up at 10 to 4. So I can make my way down to Cardiff to watch this at 5 AM. I only watched this with my one other friend, Liam. Because none of our other friends wanted to see it. Me and Liam, we're the movie buffs of our friends group, I guess. So nobody else was willing or dedicated enough to see The Dark Knight Rises on its first ever showing at 5 AM. So it was just me and him going. And we're planning on seeing it again when everybody else goes to see it next Wednesday. So yeah, that's my little story. So I'm pretty tired right now. I mean, I got an hour's sleep last night. And I was woken up at 10 to 4, and we made our way. But yeah, so I might trip over my words doing this review. It's just I'm a bit tired. But onto the movie. So The Dark Knight Rises. Story for this movie. Well, it takes place 7 or 8 years. I think it's 8. I can't remember. But 7 or 8 years after the events of The Dark Knight. And basically, during this 8-year period, Bruce Wayne has decided to stop being Batman, but now a new supervillain has appeared. He's on the scene. This time it's Bane, and he's a terrorist, and he wants to destroy Gotham City. So Bruce has to take up the Batman persona again, suit up into his costume again for the first time in 8 years, and take down Bane. So that's basically the story of the movie. So I thought it was a great movie. I really liked it. It's an awesome movie, I'd go as far as to say. I'm not sure whether or not it's on par with The Dark Knight. I guess it's just too early to say. I mean, I still need a few days to kind of stop and think about the movie to judge, I guess. but I'm not sure whether or not I would say it's on par with The Dark Knight or even better than The Dark Knight. Like, I might even like it more than The Dark Knight, or I might think it's on par with The Dark Knight. I guess I just need a few more days to kind of like actually form a final opinion, I guess. I'm not sure. Like, I really like the movie, but I'm not sure if it's on par or even better than The Dark Knight. So what did I like about the movie? Or let's just talk about the movie in general. So, they kind of backed themselves into a corner, I feel. I mean, the villain for The Dark Knight was obviously the Joker. And, like, the Joker's like the most popular and iconic Batman villain. He's like the Batman's arch nemesis. Like, he's what the Joker to Batman is what the Darks are to the Doctor, basically. Like, the Joker is the main bad guy of the Batman universe, I guess. And since they used him for The Dark Knight, they kind of backed themselves into a corner. So for the final installment of the trilogy, it's kind of like, what villain are they going to use for this? And they ended up using Bane. And Bane, you know, Bane is Bane. I mean, he broke Batman's back in the comics, I know that. So he is like a kind of big deal. But, you know, it doesn't matter what way you spin it, the Joker is a bigger deal. I mean, he's a more popular and iconic villain. Yeah, there we go, I'm tripping over my words because I'm so tired. But yeah, the Joker's like a popular, iconic villain, and Bane is Bane. Sure, he broke Batman's back in the comics, but still. So I kind of feel as if they backed themselves into a corner here, wrote themselves into a corner by using the Joker in The Dark Knight. But I was willing to give Bane a chance. When I went into this movie, I went into it with an open mind. Like, from what I had seen of Bane from the trailers, he looked badass as hell. I mean, I loved his voice, I loved the mask, like, he looked badass. So I went into this movie with an open mind, hoping to love Bane, hoping to really like him. And you know what, I did. I thought he's great. Great villain. So Tom Hardy plays Bane, and I think it's Tom Hardy, I think that's how you pronounce it. He does a great job, I guess. I mean, his mask is like, his face is like concealed by the mask for the most part, so it's not as if you can really see his facial expressions much. It's mostly just through his voice. That's the way he's acting. But I guess through his voice he does a great job, I guess. Let's talk about his voice itself. So a lot of people gave Nolan shit for the prologue sequence. Like, when he released the prologue and just when you hear Bane's voice in the trailer, it's kind of, it is like hard to understand, I will admit, but his voice sounds a lot different to what it does in the trailer and the prologue sequence. So it is easier to understand, but at the same time, it kind of sounds weird. I'm not quite sure how to like describe it, but his voice just sounds weird. And even though it's easier to understand than what it was in the trailer, I will admit, there were like 2 or 3 lines in this movie where I still didn't understand what he said. I mean, for the most part, you can understand what he's saying, yes. But there were 1 or 2 or 3 lines where I was kind of like, come again? Like, I didn't quite understand what he said. But for the most part, you'll get the gist of what he's saying. And like those 2 or 3 lines that I didn't quite get, it's just like, whatever. It's not as if it's going to be crucial to the plot. Like, I still got the gist of the movie itself, you know. But yeah, his voice kind of sounds weird, but I did like it. It sounded strange, but I did like how his voice sounded. I was like, yeah, like it grew on me. Like, when I first heard his voice, I was kind of like, you know, it sounds badass, but at the same time, it's kind of strange, but I do like it. So overall, I do like his voice in this movie. I know a lot of people won't like his voice, I bet. So, one thing I was kind of surprised, I mean, I actually found Bane pretty scary, like legitimately, like flat out pretty frightening. Like literally frightening. I found Bane pretty scary in this movie. He's like, so he's like a smart guy, so he's like outsmarting Batman left, right and centre. He's got this really elaborate master plan. The movie opens up with this really elaborate scheme to stage this, well, I'm not going to spoil it, but it involves a plane basically. Like, he's a smart guy, he's like thinking up all these really elaborate schemes. And the scenario or situation that he throws Gotham City in to, the scenario or situation that he thrusts Gotham City into, it's an interesting scenario. It's really entertaining and interesting to watch the citizens of Gotham City stuck in this situation and trying to survive. It's really interesting to watch. It's really entertaining. I really love the situation that Gotham City was in. and the situation that Bruce Wayne was in. Like I really liked the situation that Bruce Wayne was in throughout the majority of the movie. It was like really entertaining to watch, I felt. So back on to Bane. I'm not sure why I found him this way, but I did just find him pretty scary. Like, and it's not the kind of stuff I'm gonna have nightmares about. I like, not like that, but I'm saying like when he appeared on screen, like I was just waiting for him to like do something fucking like insane. I mean, this guy, like, he's physically threatening. Like, he's really tall. He is physically threatening. Like, he is snapping people's necks like twigs. Like whenever he pops up in a scene, you know someone's gonna get a neck snapped or someone's gonna get a skull pounded in. I mean, I'm pretty sure he snaps someone's neck in like every single scene he's in. At least one neck gets snapped per scene with Bane. It's crazy. I mean, he's just like walking around, like when he's walking through a crowd, he just slaps people in the face, and they're like with enough force to just spin their head around and break their neck. It's great fun. And like, he is like physically threatening. Like, his voice and what he says and everything, and how ruthless he is with the killings. He's a crazy guy, and it's like he's just a really threatening and intimidating guy. He's like a really menacing villain. Like, whenever he appears on screen, there's like a sense of dread you get. I was getting a sense of dread every single time he appeared on screen, and you fear for the characters. Every time Bane appears on screen, you fear for the characters. Like, you know, like, people are gonna die when he pops up. Like, he kills way more people than the Joker. Like, he's a lot more threatening than the Joker. And at least for the first 60 minutes of the movie, he was a lot more entertaining than the Joker. Like, the direction they kind of went with him in the first 60 minutes of the movie, I felt as if he was a far superior villain to the Joker. Honestly, I honestly mean that. But the thing is, after he fights Batman for the first time, this comes at like the 60-minute mark of the movie. I felt as if he kind of lost his impact, and he wasn't as scary or frightening as he was. Like, after he appeared after he appeared, like the 60-minute mark of the movie basically is kind of where he kind of went downhill. Don't get me wrong, I still really loved him as a villain. He worked. I mean, he was great. He carried the movie as a villain. He worked. Don't get me wrong, but I'm saying the first 60 minutes of the movie with him, like, he was better than the Joker. He was better than the Joker for the first 60 minutes of the movie, in my opinion. But after the 60 minutes, this first 60 minutes passed, I just felt as if, I guess we saw too much of him. So I guess it's not as much mystery behind him, or like I guess we just I'm having trouble like wording this, but I just feel as if, I guess there's not as much mystery behind him. Basically, you've just seen him too much after 60 minutes of the movie have passed. You've just seen him too much, so there's not as much like mystery behind him, I guess, as opposed to the first 60 minutes of the movie, where this is like the first few times you do see him. So when he does pop up, you're like, what the hell is what is he gonna do there now? But like, I guess the sense of dread, he just wasn't as scary as he was when you first saw him. So I guess the first few times you see him, he's gonna be frightening because this is the first few times you've seen him. But I guess you just saw too much of him, I guess. But yeah, however, the first 60 minutes of the movie were really impactful. Bane was badass as hell. He was awesome. But don't get me wrong, he still had his badass moments for the remainder of the movie, and he was still a great villain. He carried the movie, but I do feel as if he wasn't as impactful as he was for the first 60 minutes of the movie. And also, I hated how they handled his character towards the end of the movie. Like, it's... wow, it's just... I feel as if they did a really bad job. The way they handle his character at the end of the movie, I was just like, really? Like, this is how this is where you're going with Bane? Really? And of course I'll clarify what I hated about what they did with Bane towards the end of the movie. I mean, towards the end of the movie, Bane, I was really pissed off at how they handled him. Okay, so let's move on. So overall, Bane was an awesome villain. I mean, yeah, he's just great villain. He's such a great villain. And like, I was kind of worried about this film because they had used the biggest villain of all, the Joker, in the second movie. So it's kind of like, for the final installment of the trilogy, they're using Bane, which doesn't matter how well you spin it, he's just not as popular or as iconic as the Joker. but they handle Bane really well, and he's like legitimately frightening. He is he's just a scary villain. Like whenever he's on screen, it's just like watch out. Like that line in the first scene he's in is badass when the guy's like, "What's your plan?" and he's like, "Taking down the plane with no survivors." It's like when he said that, I was kind of like leaning back in my seat. I was like, okay, get ready. He's about, you know, what is he gonna do? What is his plan? How the hell is he gonna do this? He said something like, "Take down the plane with no survivors," and then it's like, you know, I was kind of like leaning back in my seat, like getting ready, like, oh shit, what is he gonna do now? Like just, you know, the sense of dread and everything. It was all there. It was great. And another scene which I found was pretty suspenseful, well not well yeah, it's suspenseful and scary. There's this scene where, this isn't much of a spoiler, but basically he turns on someone and he's gonna murder someone. It's great. So he's got two people in this room and he's like, "You, leave." And the guy's like, he fucking leaves. Like, he's like, okay, Bane, you know, he gets out there because he knows what's about to happen. And we as an audience know what's about to happen. But basically, there's two people in the room, and Bane's about to kill one of them because he doesn't like how this one guy is treating him. And so he said to the other guy, he's like, "Leave us." And the guy's just like, he's out of the door straight away. And he waits outside, and like Bane, like it goes on for like 2 minutes. Bane is just talking to this guy, and like the guy doesn't even bother running. He's like, he knows he's dead. I gotta say, the guy does a great job at acting as well. Like you can see in the guy's face, he knows that Bane's about to pound his skull in, and like Bane is like towering over him, and he's kind of got his hand on his shoulder, and like, you know, Bane's about to just, you know, crush his skull or whatever he's gonna do. And like that scene was pretty, that was like pretty suspenseful, and that's what I mean by Bane is scary. I mean, the sense of dread and fear you had for the character was great, of Bane just standing there talking to him for 2 minutes straight, and then like when he finally kills him, I thought it was great. It was great stuff. Like it did, like you felt like Bane felt threatening in this movie. He was intimidating, he was menacing, which is what a villain should be. Okay, let's move on from Bane now. So I have to like discuss the villain. So what's about Catwoman? I felt, I don't know, like Anna Hathaway, I think that's how you pronounce it. So she plays Catwoman. And like, yeah, I guess she, in the acting department, she did a great job, I guess. So this is like a realistic portrayal as Catwoman, I guess. Well, I mean, Christopher Nolan's portrayal of Batman is supposed to be like a realistic kind of portrayal, I guess. So Bane's more realistic than he was in Batman and Robin. I mean, yeah, and Batman and Robin, I mean, Jesus Christ. I guess nobody wants me, or is even thinking about me having to do a comparison between the Batman and Robin Bane and the Bane in this movie. I mean, what the hell, like, well, duh, what do you think the answer is going to be? Clearly, like, Batman and Robin, my man, I mean, one of the worst movies of all time. Of course, Bane sucked in there. Bane is awesome in this. I mean, and just in case somebody wanted me to mention that, yeah, the Bane and Batman and Robin sucked ass, and he doesn't, no way in hell is he anywhere near as awesome as this Bane. This Bane is like really, really cool and really scary at the same time. So, what's the other thing? Catwoman. Okay, so I'm not sure. Like, her character was fine, I guess, but I just felt as if her character overall was kind of pointless or useless. Like, to be honest, like she doesn't really do much in this movie, I felt. I mean, she does do something pretty big. She does, like, she does something extremely like impactful on the plot towards the end of the movie, but aside from that, she doesn't really do anything in the movie. I just felt as if, like, I wouldn't say her character is completely pointless, but I don't know, she kind of felt kind of unnecessary. I felt as if her character was downplayed, kind of like Scarecrow in Batman Begins. I felt or wished her character was used a lot more or had a bigger part. Yeah, like overall, I don't know, she just wasn't. She didn't really seem like she had much of an important role, I guess. The story of the movie, like, I really have trouble like talking about the story of movies. Like, I just say whether or not they're good or bad. Like, I guess the story of this movie is like interesting. It's interesting, it's entertaining, there's never a dull moment. There was never a scene where I felt as if this could have been cut out. There never was a scene where I felt as if, oh, you know, why is this here? This is just filler. Like, every scene does matter. It's like, it's contributing to the characters or the story. Every scene works, you know. In fact, I felt as if this is a 2 hour and 45 minute film, I believe. I felt as if there's this one situation or like sequence throughout the movie which I felt should have been developed more, or I felt as if we should have spent more time in this one situation, and I'll point out which situation I felt was the situation which should have been longer in the spoiler section of the review. Yeah, like I like the story. I just don't know what to say. It's good, it's interesting, it's entertaining, but like, well, what else? I don't know exactly how to criticize it. I guess like when you talk about stuff like the villain and the characters, I guess like they make up the plot. So I guess that's me kind of talking about the plot, I guess. The ending, I'm not going to spoil anything, don't worry, but I really don't know what to think about the ending. I really don't know what to think. Like, the ending, I was generally, in the cinema, like literally 10 seconds before the movie ends, something, like, there's a shot, and I'm not joking, I was sitting there, I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, I was, like, it was, like, I was like, whoa, what? It really, I was kind of like, I was just really shell-shocked that they actually did this. Like, I was just shell-shocked at what they did at the end of this movie. I was literally like, what the fuck is this? I was just so, like, my mind was kind of like all over the place. I was like, is this really happening? I was like, well, I'm not saying that's a bad thing either. What I'm saying, which made me like shell-shocked, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not sure what to think of it. I kind of like it, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, I don't know. I'm not quite sure what to think about that part of the ending. I'll clarify what I mean later on in the spoiler section of the review. But like, yeah, that moment of the film, I was just kind of like it really kind of blew my mind that they actually did that, and I'm not sure what to think of it. I'm not sure if I like it or if I dislike it. I'm really unsure about it. Also, there's like a twist. There's a twist towards the end of this movie. In like the last like 20 minutes of the movie, I would say there's a twist. And I will say, I found it pretty predictable. I found it pretty predictable, in my opinion. To me, you know, it wasn't much of a shock. I was like, yeah, okay. Like, it was pretty predictable to me. And it was predictable, and also I just didn't like it. The twist, in my opinion, it brought the movie down big time. It just brought the movie down a lot. I felt as if it really hindered the movie. It harmed the movie big time, this twist. I was like, I don't know, I was really disappointed by the twist. But I was like, this is the direction they're going in, really. I will describe in detail what I didn't like about the twist in the spoiler section of the review. I can't say why, because this will kind of spoil something for one of the characters if I tell you what the twist is, or at least if I try to describe what I didn't like about the twist, it will spoil something about a character, so I'm not going to say anything. But yeah, the twist, like in the last 20 minutes of the movie, I really didn't like it. The cinematography from Christopher Nolan, great as always. I mean, like this, you can't go wrong with this guy. He knows how to shoot a movie. He knows where to point the camera, you know. And the special effects for this movie are, like, they are amazing. They are fantastic. Like the plane sequence at the start of the movie, it looks real. It looks real. And in fact, I'm pretty sure they actually did it. They probably did it. Like, what they did, if it's the plane sequence at the start of the movie, if that's practical, I gotta say, that's really impressive. Like, well done. I am impressed. Well done, Christopher Nolan. If that's practical effects, well done. It looks real. It looked real to me. Well done. And everything else, like everything, I can't think of a single moment in this film where I was like, you know, that kind of looks a bit fake. Every single moment in this film, it looks real. It looks fantastic to me. So the special effects in this movie are great. This time round, the action scenes are done a hell of a lot better. Like, I'm even talking about the hand-to-hand combat sequences. In Batman Begins, there was one awful hand-to-hand combat sequence when Batman's beating up a bunch of thugs at the start of the movie. And when he's fighting a certain character, which I won't reveal for spoiler's sake, but when he's fighting a certain character on the train towards the end of the movie, like the fight choreography was pretty mediocre for the most part when he's fighting him. Second movie, again, when he's fighting the Joker, the SWAT team, the thugs in Bruce's penthouse. Again, it's just pretty mediocre. I felt as if the hand-to-hand combat sequences in this film were actually, again, they're not amazing, but they are far, far superior to the hand-to-hand combat sequences in The Dark Knight and Batman Begins. They're a lot more like intense this time around, especially since this is Bane, which is like a guy which is physically threatening to Batman. He's like physically dominating Batman. So it's more engaging for you as an audience member in the fight scenes, because you know that Bane's going to beat the shit out of Batman, so it's like a lot more engaging. And yeah, so it's a lot more engaging, so it's a lot more exciting for starters. And also the fight choreography is like a lot more well done, I guess. It's a lot more fast paced, it's a lot more well thought out, I guess. It's a bit more varied, I guess. It's a lot more well shot as well. That's the one thing Christopher Nolan kind of has trouble with. Filming some of the action scenes, like when he fights the criminal, a circle of thugs in Batman Begins, or when he fights the Joker's goons in the penthouse in The Dark Knight, you can't really tell what's going on. It's pretty badly shot, but I could actually follow the fight scenes in this movie. They were all done well. So yeah, the fight scenes and action scenes in general, they are a lot more well done in this movie, I felt. What else can we talk about? The special effects, already said that, haven't I? Comparisons. I've just wrote like a little note there saying comparisons. I'm trying to think comparisons to what? What comparison? Nope. It's probably referring to comparisons to The Dark Knight. Okay, so here's one. Humor. What did I think about the humor? It's pretty good. I can't think of a single moment in this film where I didn't. I can't think of a single moment in this film where I was kind of like, oh, that joke, you know, that's kind of, you know, I will say this is kind of an achievement, I would say, because jokes in movies can really easily irritate me or make me roll my eyes or really easily not work for me. But every single joke in this movie worked for me. Like, there wasn't a single moment where I laughed out loud, but like every joke, I was kind of like, yeah, that's funny, that's great stuff, you know. So every single joke worked. So the humour this time around is a lot better. And you know how in Batman Begins in The Dark Knight, people are talking to Batman, and then he looks like they look away from Batman, and then they look back, and then for like a split second, then he's disappeared. They did that a lot in the Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, and I hated it. They do it once in this movie. So you would expect me to bitch about it, right? But no, they do it once in this movie, and I liked it. The way they do it in this movie, it's a great joke. Like in the first two movies, they're not really meant to. It's not really meant to be like a joke when he disappears. It's just supposed to be like a moment, I guess. Oh, let's be so dark and edgy and make Batman disappear. Oh, like oof, like that's really like cool, you know? And like, what the fuck, Nolan? Like, I really can't believe he actually did that. Like, who thought that was a good idea? Like, why didn't somebody say something? Like, why did Nolan think that was a good idea to have Batman disappear and Batman Begins in The Dark Knight? That really, like, grinded all my gears. But in this movie, they do it one time, and it works. They have a great joke with it. Like, it works. I was like, I was really surprised when they actually did it. Like, I was actually surprised that I liked it. They do it once in this movie, and it works. It's solid moments, and everybody, like a lot of people in the room laughed as well. So I wasn't the only one who thought. So everybody in the room laughed. So yeah, the humor in this movie, it works, and even Bane has a few lines which are pretty funny. There was one line which I kind of felt was unintentionally funny from Bane. It's the way he delivered the line. It's the way Tom Hardy delivered the line. It comes in the first, in the first scene when he's his scheme is unfolding on the plane. When the guy goes, "What's your plan?" and he's like, he says something like, crashing the plane with no survivors. It's the way he says crashing the plane. It's the tone of voice he uses, and like how he says it and the speed he says it at and stuff like that. I was like ready to burst out laughing, and when I mentioned it to my friend after we saw the movie, I mentioned that one specific line, and I said like that was kind of funny. I found that line unintentionally like funny. He said the same thing. He felt the same way. Don't get me wrong, the scene was really badass still, and Bane was still like badass as ever in that scene. But the way he says crash, when the guy goes, "What's your plan?" the way he says crashing the plane with no survivors, I was like, it's just the way he said crashing the plane. I just found it kind of funny. I don't know why. It was the way he said it, I guess. Oh, I got a message. What's this? Yeah, okay, so I'm coming to the end of the review here. So the other thing, there's a lot of yeah, okay. So there's a lot of anticlimactic moments. That's what I'm trying to say. There's a lot of anticlimactic moments. I will clarify the anticlimactic moments when we get to the spoiler section of the review. I mean, Jesus Christ, wow, I can't believe how anticlimactic one moment at the end of this movie is. And I'm like, why didn't you build this moment up a hell of a lot more than you actually did? It just happens so fast, and I'm like, really? That, like... wow, it just feels like really rushed, I guess. So there's a lot of really anticlimactic moments towards the end of this movie, they are major plot points of the Batman universe. They are major plot points, but they just rush them big time. They just feel really anticlimactic because they are rushed. And I'm like, I just couldn't believe how rushed they felt. I was like, wow, really? Like, you're not going to dwell on that moment any longer? You're just going to move along? Okay, let's go on. Wow, I don't know, I just felt as if that was kind of like... they should have dwelled in some moments towards the end, some major plot points. They felt really rushed and anticlimactic. Okay, and yeah, this is the first ever IMAX film I've ever seen. So what to say about IMAX? I don't know, it was fine, I guess. I don't know, it wasn't much different to like the usual Batman, usual showing, like a non-IMAX screening. I didn't feel as if there was much difference, to be honest. One thing I did notice was the sound. The sound was noticeably like a lot more different. For example, the score, for like the theme tune, the violins. I'm not sure how I can describe this, but you could hear the violins a lot better, I guess, in this with IMAX. Like the sound was, I could certainly know, I certainly noticed the sound was like a hell of a lot more detailed, I guess. Like when in the theme tune, you can hear like the violins, like it's like you can actually hear the violins like scraping against the string of the violin, I guess, whatever you call that part of the instrument. As opposed to when I watch this film in not IMAX. The violins, the violin part just sounds like a block of noise. Like, I'm not sure how I can describe this, but the violin sounds like a block of noise, like a block of noise in a non-IMAX showing. But when you're watching this IMAX showing, you can actually like pick up on and hear the the violin actually like scraping against the strings. You can actually hear the strings like being plucked and like grated against. So that's one of I think I really noticed about IMAX. And also the whole entire damn room, or at least the seats, were shaking as hell, shaking big time. I mean, like the quality was noticeably like a hell of a lot more like awesome, like in the IMAX sequences of the movie, like the plane sequence with Bane, like, you know, and his master plan on the plane, like that looked fantastic. Like it looked great, and the football stadium scene as well, where it all collapses. That's in the trailer. Everybody's seen that by now. But like I did notice the quality was significantly better, but the sound was like the biggest like part of it, if you ask me. And one really awesome moment I really liked is when the plane that Batman acquires in this movie, when it flies over the police for the first time. Like, the sound was fantastic for that part. When it flew over the police, the sound was fantastic. Like, you felt as if, like the wind was being blown into your face. Like, you could feel the whole entire room vibrating. And it felt like the thing was flying over you. Like, that was actually pretty immersive. That was, like, probably the most impressive part of the IMAX experience, I would say. And I also like towards the end, when all these explosions are going off, like, you can feel, like, your chair rumbling and, like, the explosions going off all around you. Like, it felt great. That was great. I loved that. Okay, so yeah, that's what I thought about the movie overall. So let's sum her up, I guess. Okay. Let's think. Yeah, so let's sum her up. Oh yeah, one last thing. Acting, for the most part, awesome. Okay, for the most part, it was awesome. But there's this one thing, this one guy, which I was like, I couldn't believe how bad he was. He's just an extra. He's just in one scene, but still, he's like really bad, like noticeably bad. And this is like a really badass, awesome scene But his acting kind of took me out of it a bit. So I was kind of like, dude, stop screaming, you suck. It comes in the opening scene, during the plane sequence where Bane is like this, you know, destroying this plane, and just like his master plan is like just nuts, is insane, and he just does all this crazy stuff. So in the opening scene, there's this one guy on the plane, and he is screaming throughout the whole entire thing, which is understandable. But the thing is, the guy can't scream. The guy does not sound convincing at all, and it's so bad. It did actually take me out of the movie. Like, for the most part, I don't mind bad acting. I mean, I love all of the Saw films, but this guy was acting so bad, like it was noticeable. Like, it took me out of the movie, and I was like, you know, I don't know. The guy was a really bad actor. He's just an extra in one scene. He's not even an important character. He's just like fodder to rack up Bane's body count, but. He was a bad actor. His screams were just really unconvincing, like really noticeable. But yeah, aside from him, the acting's great for everyone else. Like I'm not gonna bother going through the cast. Everyone does a fine job. Okay, so yeah, so let's recap on the movie. Bane, great villain. He's actually pretty scary. Like I do mean that. He's like intimidating, menacing. When he appears on screen, you feel dread for all of the characters. You're worried for the characters, like, because you know he's gonna kill him. Like, this Bane he is intimidating. He's threatening. Great fun to watch. I do feel as if his character lost his impact around the 60-minute mark of the movie, because we had seen so much of him at that point of the movie. But even then, he was still a great villain. There's a twist at the end of the movie which I thought sucked. It's predictable, and it steers the movie into a really shitty direction, and I hated the direction. I really did not like the direction this movie went in. The twist steered the movie into a direction that I did not like. I hated how Bane's character was handled towards the end of the movie as well. Jesus, what were they thinking? There's a lot of anticlimactic moments towards the end of the movie, and you're like, why aren't these built up a hell of a lot more than you actually did? They just feel really rushed. But overall, it's an extremely entertaining and what's the other word? Interesting. It's an extremely interesting and entertaining movie. The situation that Bane throws Gotham City in, it's really interesting. It's really entertaining to watch, like, the citizens of Gotham City in this situation. Cillian Murphy has a great cameo. Like, he returns as Scarecrow. He only appears a few times, but he's pretty funny. He only appears in like 2 scenes, but he's funny. He's a great guy. Like, I love Cillian Murphy, so it's great to see him back again, even though it's just a cameo. But the cameo he has is pretty funny. So the acting for the most part is fine. Action scenes a hell of a lot better than the previous 2 films. Nolan's actually like learning from his mistakes, I guess. You can actually tell what's going on in the hand-to-hand combat sequences. The hand-to-hand combat sequences, the choreography in them is a lot more varied, I guess. It's a lot more interesting to watch. It's a lot more fun. And yeah, it's a really well done movie. Although Bane's character was handled really badly towards the end, there's a really shitty twist, and there's a lot of really anticlimactic moments towards the end of the movie. But overall, fantastic movie. And despite these flaws, it's still a damn good movie in my opinion. These flaws don't mean shit. I mean, the flaws will be there, but the movie's fantastic if you ask me. I really loved it. But I guess to form a final opinion, I guess I'll need a few days. So at the moment, I'm not sure if it's better than The Dark Knight or whether or not it's on par with The Dark Knight. I'm going to have to wait a few days or see it again before I form a final opinion. But overall, fantastic movie. Check it out. It's a great end to the trilogy. But the ending of the movie, I'm still not sure what to think about that. I'm not sure whether or not I should like it or dislike it. It's a great shock moment, that's for sure. I was genuinely shocked. I'm not sure whether or not I should like this shock moment though. But yeah, that's what I thought of The Dark Knight Rises. I'm going to briefly talk about the trailers here. We only got 2 trailers, as far as I can remember. One was for The Hobbit. I watched all of the Lord of the Rings films when I was a kid, once in the cinemas. I can't remember anything about them. I've got them all on DVD, but I haven't watched them since I've got them on DVD. I've only watched them once in the cinemas. So I can't remember much about them. I can't remember if I liked them or not. So, but you know, I'll get around to watching The Hobbit when it comes out. My friend Liam, he's on about going to see the midnight screening of it. So, you know, yeah, sure, I'll come to that. If he wants to go to it, I'll come for it. And Of course, I'll have to, I guess, recap on the first 3 films. I'll watch them before I see The Hobbit. But the thing is, I will say, sure, it might be a good film, but the trailer is awful. The trailer is pretty shit, I felt. The trailer is just bad. What they show you is just really unexciting. It's like, okay, show a bunch of random clips. There's no like narrative structure to the trailer. They are just like throw in a bunch of random clips. It's it's Lord of the Rings. People are gonna love the trailer regardless. But it's a bad trailer. I'm sorry. I felt as if it's a bad trailer. It's not. It doesn't really have a structure to it. It's just a bunch of random clips of the movie. It's just like show a bunch of random clips. This is The Hobbit. Like the fans will be pleased either way because there's some footage of the movie, but it's not like any narrative structure to the trailer. The trailer is just a bunch of random clips, which in nonsensical order. It just I felt as if the trailer was really bad. Well, see, we had another trailer. I can't remember what it was though. It might come back to me. But I don't know. I can't remember it. Oh yeah, Total Recall, which looks meh. Haven't seen the original. This looks meh. I might check it out. But yeah, that's the other trailer. Okay, so on to the spoiler section of the review. So if you haven't seen The Dark Knight Rises, leave now because you don't want spoilers. So, let's see, I need to like clarify a lot of moments which I said I would clarify in the spoiler section of the review. Now, I gotta remember what exactly I was trying to clarify. And my mouth was really getting dry there, I had to. Okay, so, what moments did I have to clarify? I'm trying to think here. How about some really anticlimactic moments towards the end? So, Bane dies. Bane gets killed by Catwoman. He's about to blow Batman's head off, and then Catwoman's on like Batman's bike, and then she uses like the guns of the bike to shoot him, and the bullets kill him basically. He like goes flying across the room, and he dies. Okay, so I felt as if his death was really anticlimactic. It's so sudden. It's really sudden, which is okay. Like being sudden is okay, but like it hits him in the chest. He goes flying back, and bang! That's it. We don't cut to his corpse. Batman and Catwoman don't look at his corpse or anything. I mean, it's just like bang! He flies off, and that's it. We don't see his corpse or anything. The plot continues, and I just felt as if his death should have been a lot bigger than that. It's kind of lame, I felt. And another really anticlimactic moment I felt was. What was it? When basically Batman, Bane has basically set this bomb to detonate. There's no way to disarm it, and it's like a nuclear bomb. So Batman, he gets into his plane, his bat flying mobile thing, and like he's got the bomb on the plane, and he flies off into the ocean to get away from Gotham City and any civilization. So bang, it blows up. He sacrifices himself by taking the bomb out to sea. So, like, this is what I was, it's just that, I felt as if his death should have been built up to be a bit more than that. It was kind of done a bit too quick, if you ask me. They should have built it up a lot more. What I didn't like about Bane's character is how, a lot of people, I'm going to steal what other people describe him as. He's revealed to be nothing more than a glorified henchman. It turns out, he's not the one behind this ingenious master plan. It turns out this girl is, what's her name, Charlie or something, Rachel Gould's daughter, I believe, or maybe it's wife. I don't know, I think it's his daughter. Yeah, it was his daughter. But I just didn't like how Bane was suddenly, like, he's this really badass guy who crawled out of this pit, out of that pit in whatever country it was. And he's this really smart guy who thought of this really elaborate, really clever scheme to trap Gotham and blow it up. But then all of a sudden, all of the focus has moved from him, because during the twist reveal, we find out that this girl is Rachel Gould's daughter, and she's the one that's been organising all of this, and Bane is just her henchman. I shit you not, Bane is her henchman. And it's just like, Bane is so badass, so scary, so threatening, so intimidating, but when she reveals herself, he's just nothing more than a henchman, and he's such a pushover. I was really pissed off at how they handled Bane there. Bane is just, he's out of the picture. And like, even then, like for the next 10 minutes, we focus on her trying to get the bomb, like trying to make the bomb detonate, trying to stop Batman from, moving the bomb. And it's just like, doing this sequence where she's trying to stop Batman from moving the bomb, I'm just there like, I don't give a shit. I do not care about this girl. Like, I do not care about this girl we've suddenly revealed to be the villain for the last 5 minutes of the movie. I do not care about her. It should have been Bane. It was a shit twist. I did not like her whatsoever. I felt as if it was such a big... it was just a bad move. Should have stuck with Bane. Having her introduced into the movie was a big mistake, if you ask me. I did not buy her as a villain. I did not like her whatsoever. She sucked. End of story. Did not like her. There are other things I needed to clarify, but I can't think of what they were. One really awesome moment of acting from Christian Bale, I've just got to point out, was when that girl Tally, the really shit surprise villain, when she stabs him. I really liked that. That was great, I felt. Like when he's kind of like leaning over Bane after tearing out the mask or whatever, then all of a sudden like she comes out of nowhere, stabs him, and Christian Bale kind of lets out this almost high-pitched squeal of pain. I bought it. I felt as if that kind of high-pitched squeal of pain, it sounded real. Like he was a great actor there. I loved that little like scream he let out that when he got stabbed. I felt as if that was great. And what I felt, the situation in the movie, which I really enjoyed, and I felt as if they should have spent more time in, like half an hour more in, like, I shit you not, like half an hour more. I would have loved if this situation was half an hour longer. I would have loved to see it. It's when Bruce is trapped in the prison, when he's trapped in that hole. I really liked that little scenario he was stuck in, and I felt as if they should have, like, I felt as if he escaped it a bit too quickly. Like, he suddenly got the courage to escape. I felt as if they did that, it was a bit rushed. He did it a bit too quickly. I felt as if it should have been a bit more of a build-up, maybe even half an hour longer. I really liked that scenario, and I would have liked to spend a lot more time in that prison. I was really interested in that scenario. So, I think that's it for the most part. I don't really have anything else to say. Aside from, obviously the thing I'm talking about is, you find out that Batman did not sacrifice himself. It turns out he set the plane to autopilot so he could jump out. So he survived. Bruce actually survives. And that's the thing. Like 5 seconds before the movie ends, we are shown a shot of him in a coffee shop with Catwoman. And I was kind of like, that was the moment that made me go like, what the hell? Like, it was a genuine shock moment. Because the thing is, I watched David Letterman's interview where he goes, oh, Batman dies at the end. So I was kind of like, yeah, oh my god, like, I was so pissed off. But on the plus side, that kind of made this ending where it turns out Bruce is still alive. It turns out Bruce does survive. So David Letterman saying that Batman dies, it turns out to be an even bigger shock. It made this revelation at the end of the movie out to be an even bigger shock, and like I was genuinely like shocked as hell when it turned out that Bruce is still alive. I was like, I was kind of like, am I dreaming? Is Alfred dreaming? Is this just Alfred's imagination? But no, it's implied he did survive. I was like, wow. Like well, it was just really nice to kind of be like shocked or really surprised. I was like, wow, that was great. I really liked that. Now, another moment I really liked was when Bane, when they go to the football stadium, he blows up the football stadium and he announces to Gotham, oh, I have this bomb, it can blow up Gotham. And then he's like, he brings the scientist who like designed the bomb or whatever, and he gives him the microphone and he's like, tell them your name. He does so. And then he's like, tell them what's this bomb. And then he describes what the bomb is, what happens when it blows up and shit, how it works. Then he's like, and he goes something like, are you the only person in Gotham City that could deactivate this bomb? Then he hands it back to the guy and he's like, yes. And like, you know where this is going. Like, you know what Bane's about to do. And this is like one of those moments where you're like dreading fear for the characters, because you know Bane's like, he is like a ruthless killer and you know what he's about to do. And like, because of what he just said, you know what's about to happen. So he's like, tell them, so he says something like, are you the only person that can deactivate this bomb? And he's like, yes. And then he's like, then Bane just like drops the microphone and he snaps the guy's neck in front of the crowd. Like, you saw that coming a mile off, but it was great waiting for the moment. It was great just waiting for him to snap his neck. I loved that. That was great fun. And that's really badass as well when they bring Gordon to Bane's hideout and then Bane is there and then he's like, why did you bring this man to me? And he's like, answer the question. And he's like, I'm not talking to Gordon, I'm talking to you. He's talking to his own henchman. Like, Gordon manages to escape. And like, when Gordon is like rolling off and the henchmen shoot at him, but Gordon manages to escape, but Bane doesn't see it, and the henchmen are like, he's dead, and you can see the fear in their faces because they don't want to what's the word I'm looking for, disappoint Bane. They know if they disappoint Bane, Bane's gonna kill them. So like when Gordon escapes, Bane doesn't see him escape, but they're like, oh, we managed to kill him, even though they didn't, but they're lying, so they don't disappoint Bane, obviously. And then Bane's like, Bane's like, then show me his body. And then he's like, but it went down into the sewers. And then he's like, then go get it. And then he shoots him in the face. I love that. It's like Bane has some badass lines, stuff like that. Like you can see like his henchmen are afraid of him. And like his henchmen to him are just disposable. He just doesn't care. If you fail him, you're dead, basically. Like, the Joker killed his men a lot, but nowhere near as much as Bane. Like, Bane is a lot more frightening, intimidating, menacing, scarier than the Joker was. Bane is like a really effective villain, I felt. Even though they just destroyed it. They destroyed his character with the revelation that he's nothing more than a henchman, a pawn to this random girl's plan, which we don't care about. Like, damn, I was really pissed off about that. That twist sucked, I hated it. Just how Bane's character was like devolved into nothing more than a henchman, I really hated that. But yeah, but he still, it doesn't just detract from all of the badass moments and lines he has. I just loved his badass moments and lines. He's just great fun, he's a great villain. Okay, so I think I'm finally done. Yeah, okay, I'm done. That's everything I have to say about The Dark Knight Rises. So overall, fantastic movie. Even though it has a lot of flaws towards the end of the movie, I'm just like, god damn it, man. Like the twist, devolving Bane's character into nothing more than a pussy whip bitch. I mean, I hated it. I couldn't believe what they did to Bane's character. I was really disappointed. But aside from that, fantastic movie, awesome movie. Definitely check it out. So that's my review for The Dark Knight Rises. So there we go. Thanks for watching. That's like the major release of this year, I guess. The Hobbit, I don't think The Hobbit's going to be as hyped up as much as The Dark Knight Rises was. But yeah, there we go. I'm pretty tired right now. Oh yeah, and I'm also going to be seeing The Amazing Spider-Man again after. So I had 1 hour of sleep last night, because yeah, I had 1 hour of sleep last night, and was woken up at 10 to 4. So then I can make my way to Cardiff to catch the 5 AM showing of The Dark Knight Rises. I've gone home. I might have a nap after, I guess. Hopefully, if I have time. And I'm going to be seeing The Amazing Spider-Man again in the cinemas afterwards. My dad and my brother want to see it, so they're going to see it. And so I was like, yeah, sure, I'll come along with you as well. So I'm going to be watching The Amazing Spider-Man again. I like The Amazing Spider-Man, so I really don't mind seeing that again. And I'll be seeing The Dark Knight Rises multiple times. I plan on doing. I'm going to be watching it next Wednesday with my friends. I'll probably watch it more times as well. I really liked it. It was a fun movie. Yeah, so that's all I have to say. That's the end of the Dark Knight Rises review. So thanks for watching the review, and see ya.